Acosta-Sheinfeld, project coordinator, who's been at the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles, LAFLA. Do you guys say LAFLA? For the past 11 years. With a team of 4 attorneys and 1 social worker, her program provides legal assistance and case management to asylum seekers, asylees, refugees, lawful permanent residents, and naturalized U.S. citizens, and facilitates the integration process of immigrant survivors. Carolina coordinates interagency relations and program development for LAFLA's Torture Survivors Project, conducting advocacy with the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, the Department of State, and others. In the last decade, she's developed a network called the Los Angeles Asylum Collaborative for NGOs working with asylees in the greater Los Angeles area. She's the chair of the California State Advisory Council on Refugee Assistance and Services and vice chair for the Los Angeles County Refugees Forum. She holds a Master of Public Diplomacy from USC's Annenberg for Communications and Journalism and is a fellow for the United Nations Alliance of Civilizations program, and in March 2014, she completed a professional certificate on peace and conflict resolution in, okay, you're going to have to pronounce it for me. Chulalongkorn University, Thailand, as a Rotary Peace Fellow. So everyone, please welcome Carolina Sheinfeld.
Well, one thing I still brought back from Thailand is the why, so I keep saying thank you like this. Thank you very much, President Linda, for the introduction. President Linda Catran, past President San Vasquez, past District Governor Nancy Schmidt, Forum Chair Mel Powell, and dear Rotarians, good afternoon. I'd like to thank you for the invitation to your last meeting of the month of November as you celebrate the Rotary Foundation at Rotary International. Without your contributions to the foundation, I wouldn't be here today talking to you. As a Rotary Peace Fellow, I benefited from its 3-month intensive professional development program, living and studying in Thailand, and I could not be more grateful for this life-changing experience. For today, I'm gonna try to touch upon 4 areas. So I'll talk about the Rotary Peace Fellowships for you to know about them, and how the club can get involved. How did I get there, so how did I apply? What was it like for me? I'll put you a little slideshow, like a 2-minute slideshow with just some pictures so that you can be there for 2 minutes at least. And then last I will tell you what I'm doing now here in Los Angeles. And if there's time, I'll put you a video of one of my clients' cases. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is what are the Peace Fellowships. So this is, as Roy mentioned, this peace building and sustaining peace is one of the areas of focus of Rotary Foundation, is through the peace initiatives. So there are currently 6 Rotary Peace Centers around the world, and through these 6 peace centers, Rotary offers innovative academic training in the area of peace and conflict prevention and conflict resolution. It contributes to build a global network of professional peacemakers that will prevent conflict and ensure sustainable peace at local, national, and global levels. It connects fellows, alumni, and Rotarians with leading individuals and organizations that work towards the goal of peace. And lastly, it increases accessibility of peace education and field experiences to candidates in all regions of the world. What do fellowships cover? I'm very thankful for this because they were able to cover fully funded academic fellowships at one of the 6 peace centers in my case. So it's full tuition and fees, room and board, round-trip transportation, and then all field study expenses. There are 2 types of fellowships. There's the master's degree, which could be anywhere between 15 to 24 months, and the theme of the master's degree is building the leaders of tomorrow. I'm going to circulate the flyer of that also has that information. So the master's degree is building the leaders of tomorrow. It's offered at 5 centers, so at Duke University and University of Northern Carolina, at Chapel Hill, so here in the US, that's one of the centers. The International Christian University of Japan, the University of Bradford in the UK, University of Queensland, Australia, and Uppsala University in Sweden. Then the professional certificate, it's a 3-month intensive program. That's the one I participated on. It's dedicated to strengthening the leaders of today. This is held at Chulalongkorn University in Bangkok, Thailand. And we worked with a weekly module system where we had different themes, such as the roots of conflict, understanding conflict, conflict management, conflict resolution skills, and then conflict transformation. How did I get there? Well, it took me a little bit longer than other applicants. Actually, my process was not regular. It took me 2 years because when I first reached out to the clubs that were near me, the deadline had already passed. So then I had to wait 1 more year apply, and then the process itself takes a year. So I formally applied in February of 2013. Was interviewed by the clubs and then the district in April of 2013, and then was later selected by Rotary International in October of 2013. And I traveled and I lived in Thailand from January to April of this year. So the process for applicants, if you know people that are interested, they need to contact a local Rotary club to request an endorsement, and that will take them to pre-selection and to interviews. And then there's an online application which currently is closed but will open in the month of December. And then there are district interviews, which the final candidates need to be submitted by May 31st. And once selected, the fellowship recipients need to apply for the Peace Center that they selected. For you as a club, you need to know that you should start recruiting nominees between January and April, and that most clubs have finalized selection by April 1st, and then the deadline to complete applications to Rotary International is July 1st. So and I read last night that they changed this deadline so that everything needs to be submitted to the district by May 31st, so that's important for you to know. So what was it like for me? In my case, so they select, just for you to know, they select 100 Peace Fellows every year. So for the professional development program, they select an estimate of 50. So there's 2 programs. There's one in the winter and one in the summer. I went for the one in the Thai winter. And there's a group of 25 that goes to each of these ones in the professional certificate. In my case, some of them couldn't come, so it ended up being a group of 20. We were from 17 different countries with various backgrounds. There were teachers, non-governmental organization officers, government employees, journalists, and community leaders. We were very lucky to have a Rotary host area coordinator in Bangkok who selected host counselors in Thailand for us. So in my case, I had a counselor, a Rotary counselor, and a co-counselor. So it was Kumpani and Kunsiri. And they involved us in the Rotary meetings locally and also some of their activities. So that was very insightful for us. And we also got to sign with them in a couple of meetings. So they are all about fun as well, as you, from what I'm hearing. Studying peace building and conflict resolution and putting it in practice sounds very theoretical. We actually, like some people, when I came back, asked me, "Oh, did you have fun on your vacation?" Well, we were having classes 7 hours a day for 5 days a week, and then we had a lot of assignments and research, and we were meeting with organizations also locally and doing a lot of research, and it was quite intense, I can tell you. So the fellowship included 2 field studies, one to the Thai-Burma border, to the town of Mysore, and you'll see some pictures of these, where the refugee camps, most of the refugee camps in Thailand are located. And our focus on this field study was migration. And then we went to Cambodia to study post-conflict resolution, so like see what has been like for Cambodia and Cambodians after the Khmer Rouge. Besides Bangkok, we met Rotarians in Mysore, in the border. So we met like the clubs of the capital city, but we also met clubs in smaller cities like in Mysore, and we did karaoke with them, which was fantastic. I actually became a star singing "Stand By Me." So I'm not going to share that video with you, but And then in Cambodia, we met also with the Rotary clubs over there, which was incredible for us because this is a small town in the middle of Cambodia, and all the members of the Rotary clubs were employees of these small non-profit agencies, one of them called Sustainable Cambodia, the other one called Building Bridges for Children. So, so that was very interesting. Not a lot of women though on this one club, but apparently they are trying to recruit. My peace building focus during the fellowship was immigrant integration, and that was my research was specifically on migrants seeking humanitarian protection that were coming, in this case from Thailand, that were originally either Burmese or Bhutanese, to the United States, so asylees and refugees. I was lucky enough that during one of the field studies I observed the refugee resettlement process of the Department of State of the U.S. and like how that process happens and the screenings, and got to talk to some of the families. One of the most powerful lessons that I learned came in me in the form of a children's book, believe it or not, which is was specifically written for Burmese and Thai students, called "Be Good to Each Other, the Rest Will Come Easy." And I've adapted it for today's meeting. So I have the book with me, but so if you are curious, I can circulate it. So this is the book, and it has illustrations. So it goes like this. This is the end. Dear friend, look close, look deep, look far, look wide. We're not as different as we seem. We each carry our own story. We each hold our own beliefs. And we all know what it is like to straddle 2, 3, 4 worlds. Whatever brings you here, to this town, to this border, be open, be brave, be good to each other. The rest comes easy. So for me, it was very, very powerful. My work is all around immigrant integration, and I think like sometimes you have to, go down to the basics. Like we have to be good to each other. Graduation day. So, well, what you saw was, I try to put a little bit of everything. One thing I didn't mention, that one of the unique experiences that my group had was that we got there the week before shut down Bangkok. So the main intersections of the city were shut down, were taken, and traffic was a mess. There were stages and protesters all around town for the 3 months that we were there. So security was central for the organizers and for our host counselors, and our movement was restricted significantly because of that. The university was locked. Only one entrance was open because it was very close to the protest sites. We had interesting presentations. We tried to get briefings from security groups in the university so that we would be up to date with what was happening. And one anecdote I can share is that one time, because of translations, they told us there were some firecrackers that had, been around very close to the university. There was only firecrackers, and then when I got home, my husband told me there were some grenades exploded in Bangkok today. Oh, they told us they were firecrackers, so I guess it's a translation. It got lost in translation. But nevertheless, they took very good care of us. We had, even as I learned what a security tree, so we had communication through between all the members. I got to meet some of the fellows who had participated. There was one picture there that were sitting on the floor eating, so that's one of the alumni of the program. She actually lives in Thailand now, and so we went to Burmese food with her, and she introduced us to the culture. You saw a picture maybe of the extraordinary chambers in the courts of Cambodia. That is the special tribunal of the International Criminal Court, where criminals of the Khmer Rouge are being held accountable. And so that's a little bit of what the 3 months was like. So what am I doing now? So before I left for Thailand, I was already working with Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles, specifically with their Torture Survivors Project. So this work is geared towards immigrants that have been victims of torture in their countries. And coming back, I took a leave of absence to do this professional development program. And coming back, I came back much more empowered and focused on creating welcoming communities through the work at LAFLA. Our program, as President Linda mentioned, provides legal assistance for people that are, from the time they are seeking asylum, that they need also to be later on reunified with their family members, become permanent residents, and then until they become U.S. citizens. And we do case management for them and also community education. I've been able to put in practice the lessons learned at these orientations that I've participated in with refugees. So I do a monthly orientation at the asylum office with new asylees. And besides that, it's been a very busy season, because shortly after I came back, the humanitarian crisis at the border exploded with unaccompanied minors coming to the U.S. from Central America because of the violence over there. And in this particular area, I've been trying to create a contributing with our agency to create a humane response to the crisis, and have been trying to coordinate efforts with other nonprofits and government agencies in the community. In conclusion, it was a privilege to be able to dedicate 3 months of academic training while living in a foreign country and learning from different cultures and personalities. All this while creating meaningful connections to continue to build sustainable peace and better communities. So I don't know how we're doing that time.
We're fine. We're fine.
And then I'll put you a little story of one of my clients. This video was done before I went on the fellowship, but it narrates the story, the journey of Faduma Mohammed, who's, I call her Faduma Mama because I've been working with her for almost 9 years now. And yeah, so you're here.
I love working at LAFLA.
I can't imagine doing anything other.
The best part about this job is seeing the turnaround in the way people approach life.
What is different than the person I once was that now I believe in a future.
It brings your self-esteem back, which it was taken away.
It's an amazing thing to see that transformation.
That's the greatest satisfaction that we get.
And that's an opportunity that you have when you work with LAFLA.
My name is Faduma Mohammed. I came from southern Somalia, East Africa.
So in Somalia in 1991, the regime toppled. The rebel soldiers entered the house of her family, and when her brother tried to protect her and her mother, the soldiers took up their rifles and simply shot him dead in front of her.
My 4-year-old, he remembers seeing a family member who close to you bleeding to death.
And only about 6 months later, another group of rebel forces entered her home and violently threw her on the floor and began to physically batter her and assault her.
You're tortured through rape, through abuse, physically beat up.
The entire time she was trying to keep quiet so that her children wouldn't be too traumatized by her screaming.
You can't do anything, you just have to bear with it just to survive that torture.
In order to get to Kenya, She had to get onto a boat with hundreds of other people. They were throwing people overboard, people who couldn't pay.
We were starved, we were tired. Some lost their children and they didn't want to let go. You're told the baby is dead. With me, I was scared. I didn't want even to look.
And she finally was able to make it to a refugee camp in Kenya. But unfortunately, the terror did not end in Kenya.
The locals were torturing us, stealing from us. At night, they beat us because we've taken their space.
And in addition to that, the domestic violence, which had begun already in Somalia, started escalating.
I took custody of 4 sons.
And she decided to come to the United States of America.
She was seeking asylum as a torture survivor, but also as a survivor of domestic violence.
When I had applied before, I was denied.
She didn't know what her rights were. She didn't even know who to turn to.
If I'd gone back to Somalia now, I can be killed.
I joined the military when I was about 21 years old. I'm a child of immigrants from Mexico.
During the first 6 weeks, she was in boot camp, as everybody is when they first go into the military. And one evening, while she was patrolling at night, somebody pulled her into a dark stairwell.
I was raped in the service, in boot camp. I tried to report it.
She didn't follow the proper protocol when she went to report the rape. And instead of listening to her, her superior officer actually ordered her to do push-ups on the floor.
After I tried to report it, and I wasn't listened to, I hid it. I wanted to forget about it.
She really buried herself into her work to try to bury the feelings that she was experiencing.
So when I got out of the service, it was very difficult to maintain this pretty package.
Her life just fell into shambles.
The worst harm for me was not being able to share with my family. Since also this was my first sexual experience, I felt a lot of shame about it, and I thought that my family would find out and I would be ostracized.
She became disengaged from her family members and friends.
I thought I was crazy. My ex-husband left me. I wasn't able to work. I couldn't function in school.
To becoming literally homeless on the street.
And to this day, I'm not the same person that I was before I joined the service.
But she was able to get herself together enough to apply in 2003 to the VA for benefits for the PTSD, or the post-traumatic stress disorder.
6 months later, I was denied.
They said, you can't prove to us that you were actually raped in service, so we are not going to give you benefits.
I tried to do it again a couple years later,
and again, the VA said, sorry, Maricela, but you can't prove that you were raped.
It was not the denial of the claim that was more traumatic. For me, it was a denial that this ever happened to me. And, you know, I gave up. And I decided to take my life.
Her family found her. They called the ambulance. She was sent off.
My mother broke down in tears. And she was begging me not to close my eyes because she was afraid that, you know, I wouldn't wake up.
And this last suicide attempt changed her life.
When people do not have access to justice, they lose faith in their government, they lose faith in society, and the whole system breaks down.
The Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is the frontline law firm for the poor.
Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles plays a key role of opening the doors to justice.
The veterans I encounter are usually at a very low point in their lives. They don't have the perseverance at that point in their lives to keep going.
It was one of the first people who took my hand and basically said, you know, no, you're right.
Now, in the end, we submitted her formal claim, and the VA came back to us, and they denied it.
But what was different this time was that she said, no, you know, actually, no, this is wrong.
And so we just charged forward. I requested records from the VA, from her military. Overall, I think I went through 2,000 pages of documents.
It took close to 10 years for this process to happen.
And finally, at long last, the VA gave her everything that she deserves, which comes out to $2,769 a month. And at the end, she got around $69,000 in back pay.
It was finally an affirmation that basically they believed in me and said, you know, you are a rape survivor.
Maricela went from being homeless to becoming a homeowner.
I bought my first home. I'm a homeowner, which I never in my life thought that was going to ever happen.
She is now moving to self-sufficiency.
I'm actually working with veterans, working with homeless veterans find employment. And, I was very inspired to help others. Now I'm currently, I'm the first college graduate in my family.
Our goal at LAFLA is to address all of the needs of the individual client, because that is what gets them out of poverty.
LAFLA is unique in the breadth of services that it provides, in the holistic approach that it takes to clients, and in its ability to fight battles over the long term.
We have the lawyers and we have the social services to address all of their problems.
I didn't have nobody. They were like a family too.
When she first arrived, she had nothing.
They fight for my case not only by talking, by giving me resources to counseling.
She had to talk about her story to psychologists, to doctors, to expert witnesses. We represented her in immigration court, won her asylum.
I can't remember, but I have that big smile. It was unbelievable to myself when the judge said, granted.
And the case wasn't over then. We helped her obtain employment. We helped her with government benefits. Then we helped her get her green card, and eventually we helped her become a U.S. citizen.
We've seen her become self-sufficient.
She gives talks all over the city,
Giving hope to other clients that are new to the city.
Although we reach over 70,000 people a year at LAFLA, the numbers continue to grow.
LAFLA simply cannot do it alone. It relies and counts on support from the legal community, from the law firms, from the individual lawyers, and from the businesses in the community.
Without them, we couldn't do half of the work that we do.
LAFLA has made a very big difference.
her children now have a chance.
I was at the hospital holding my first grandson when he was just born. When I was given to hold, that moment from the ship, that fear came like that conscience was telling me, see, you have a grandchild being born here in America and in a safe place.
I do feel like a warrior finally winning, but to be honest with you, if I didn't have Legal Aid Foundation behind me as a part of my team, as a part of my unit, I wouldn't be here. I don't know if I would have had the courage to finally tell my father and my mother what happened to me. My father broke down in tears. And, he hugged me. And he told me that he loves me and that he was never ashamed of me and that finally he knew what was wrong with me.
First, I can say a big hug.
I'm very thankful for all the support of Legal Foundation.
I became a citizen last year. That's a big thank you that it's gonna be my first time in my life even to cast that vote. I'm voting this year. Thank you.
So this video was from 2012, and that was the first time in her life, as Fadumo said, that she was able to vote. Like, we take voting for granted. I'm not a U.S. citizen yet, so I'm not able to vote in the U.S., but I have been able to vote elsewhere. However, for a lot of our clients, they've never had the right to decide who's in the government. So for her, this was very transformative. Our work at the Torture Survivors Project is to transform clients from victims to survivors. So when they come to us, they have lost all their hope. They don't have strength to carry on. And it's also even very hard for them to trust us because they've lost all hopes. So little by little, we connect with them and we help them also be empowered and then carry on and make their own decisions. So we meet them where they are at. So I really thank you for your patience as I put you in this presentation for you today. I know it's it's overwhelming, but just for you to know that there's a lot of good people doing good work the same as you do in our community, so making the city a much more welcoming city. So you should feel proud of that, of Los Angeles. And I brought some flyers of my project, and then there's another client story here if you wanna look at it. So you can keep the green ones and then I'll circulate this one. So I'll take any questions you have now.
How did you find out about the Rotary program in order to apply for it?
Thank you. So I was, when I first came here, I wanted to go to graduate school. I didn't really know where I would fit here. I came here following my, at the time, boyfriend, and I didn't know what there was for me in Los Angeles. So I thought I'm gonna go, do a master's degree. I was not able to do that because I didn't know until you're a permanent resident, there are very limited opportunities for you to get financial assistance to do these very expensive programs. So I started volunteering, started working, and later on, as working in legal aid, I applied for graduate school. And it was very difficult because I still had to work full-time and to pay for school. So I started looking for scholarships. And one of the scholarships I came across was the Rotary Peace Fellowship. It was not a financial assistance scholarship for my program because I had already picked a program that was here locally. But I thought it would be a good opportunity after finishing my master's to do my field research. And that's how I first reached out to them because, so that's how I found out.
So now are you staying in the U.S. and becoming a citizen?
Well, hopefully, yes. So we are, next year, I think it will be our chance after being living here for 12 years. My husband has been in LA for 13, but almost 18 in the United States. And if you're familiar at all with the visas in the U.S. that go by letter, so like we've had all the alphabet of visas, and and paid a lot of money in attorneys, but yeah. So
you also get to choose, I'm sorry, one more question, the center that you want to go to, or do they just...
You select the center. For me, the only option was Chulalongkorn because it's the only place where they have the 3-month professional program. I could not do, like I'm married, I couldn't just take off for a year or 2 years. And also from work, like I had to request a leave of absence, and if I would have to renounce to my job to be able to leave for a year. So the responsibilities,
Is the Legal Aid Association for, the Legal Aid Foundation is only for refugees or?
No. So Legal Aid Foundation is a nonprofit it's a nonprofit law firm. We have 6 offices in LA, and it's for U.S. citizens, natural, like permanent residents, and certain qualified immigrants. So actually, there are legal aid programs across the U.S., and not all of them know that they can assist non-citizens. Like we've been pioneers in this, and we actually assist a lot of U.S. citizens and permanent residents, but also a large percentage of non-permanent residents or U.S. citizens that qualify for our services. Yeah, as you saw in the video, there was the other story was Maricela's story, who's a U.S. citizen veteran. So yeah, when we have, before I left, we were divided by units, and depending on our area of law, so I was the immigration unit, and then there was a veteran justice project was inside the government benefits unit, and now we're divided by working groups. So now we're part of supporting families. So my team provides both immigration and family law services.
I'm sorry, they're pretty much the primary legal aid providers in civil law.
Yes, exactly.
In the Los Angeles area. You have the public defender in the criminal area. The legal community knows LAFLA very well. They're the primary legal aid provider for those who simply cannot afford expensive lawyers.
Yeah. That's the best way to describe it. So the same way you have a public defender for the criminal, in criminal cases, which is assigned to you, different in the civil cases, you have to go look for counsel, and then like legal aid is that program. However, different also in the immigration context. To give you an idea, there's not assigned or paid counsel or lawyers for people that are in immigration proceedings. So also that creates a lot of other needs in these immigrant communities.
Does the Legal Aid Foundation work with lawyers in the area, attorneys? I thought I heard that in the presentation.
Yeah, so we do, we train private attorneys and encourage them also to participate. So we have a big pro bono involvement project We've organized anywhere, from clinics where, we do the trainings and then like they meet one-on-one with clients, and then also they take on, like, there are a lot of law firms that have their pro bono programs dedicated to LAFLA. So working with domestic violence survivors or human trafficking survivors has been an area of interest in our department.
Did your area of focus change after you went on the work?
Well, it kind of focused even more on immigrant integration because I saw, the discrepancies, like the big differences. Like I always pictured, I've lived in 3 countries, but I never lived in a country that had refugees. Well, I'm lying. Venezuela does have refugees, but I never, was never in touch with them. Like I was in Thailand, and then seeing the big gap that there is between what their life is like back home and coming here, like it made me, even go more to basics in terms of producing materials and like having those conversations with them. So I think it helped me very much in being more focused.
Any other questions? Well, we want to thank you very much.